Today's lesson is on how we can divide with fractions. Be sure during this video to take thorough notes. Please write down the explanations that you see at the top of the screen, as well as all the examples that we go through together today. To divide by a fraction, we need to multiply by its multiplicative inverse or its reciprocal. If you'll take a look at this example and this explanation, the first problem asks us to divide 3 by 1/4, and that means we are being asked how many 1/4 can we get from 3. So that'd be like how many 1/4 size slices could we get from 3 pizzas? And we know that that would be 12, because if we think about 3 pizzas divided into fourths, we get those 12 slices. The second statement is asking us how much will 3 groups of 4 give us. And that's really the same idea. We have a group of 4, a group of 4, and a group of 4, and we have a total of 12 because 3 times 4 is 12. So same ideas, just being represented different ways. One is dividing by a reciprocal, and one is multiplying by that number. So we look at 4 and 1/4, and we see that we have reciprocals between those two. So let's just do a couple of examples so we can see how this multiplicative inverse works. Our first example asks us to find 1/3 divided by 5. So we're going to take 5 and think about it as a fraction by putting it over a denominator of 1. And then we're going to use its multiplicative inverse. That gets us back to that multiplication of fractions process that we're already comfortable with. So we'll take 1/3. We're going to switch over to multiplication because, again, we're using the multiplicative inverse or the reciprocal. And this is something we already know how to do. We know with fractions, when we are multiplying, we multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. And our product is in simplest form, so this is the answer you're looking for. That's saying we only get 1/15 of 5 out of 1/3. It's kind of difficult to visualize, but that's really what's going on here. So let's take a look at this second example. We have 6/10, and we're going to divide that by 3/4. We're going to find out how many groups of 3/4 can we get out of 6/10. So we'll start by taking the multiplicative inverse of the divisor. That's that second number in your division statement. So we have 6/10. We're going to take the reciprocal. And then remember, because this is the multiplicative inverse, we're going from division to multiplication with that flip. I see some moments here where I can simplify by using common factors between numerators and denominators. I have a common factor of 3 for 6 and 3. So if I do 6 divided by 3, I'm going to be left with 2. And 3 divided by 3 will leave me with 1. I also see a common factor between 10 and 4, and that would be 2. So 4 divided by 2 leaves me with 2. And 10 divided by 2 leaves me with 5. So now I can multiply, and I wind up with 4/5. That's in simplest form, so we have completed our work. All right, now it's your turn. I'm going to ask you to try these on your own. Try 2/3 divided by 2/10 and 4/18 divided by 1/9. Remember to take the multiplicative inverse or the reciprocal of the divisor. Simplify if you can, and then you're multiplying. All right, in this first one, we'll take 2/3. We're using the multiplicative inverse, so that division switches over to multiplication. And the reciprocal of 2/10 would be 10/2. I can simplify right here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's a common factor between the two. And that leaves me with 1 times 10 and 3 times 1. That's an improper fraction, so we need to make that a mixed number by thinking about this as a division statement of 10 divided by 3. And that's going to leave me with 3, 1 left over, and that piece is 1/3. So in simplest form, we're looking at a product or a quotient, if we think about the division problem, of 3 and 1/3. In the second one that you worked on, you have 4/18. divided by 1/9, but the reciprocal would be 9/1. We have some common factors here of 9, so 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 18 divided by 9 is 2. Multiplying numerators, we wind up with 4. Multiplying denominators, we get 2. And when that simplifies, 4 divided by 2, we wind up with 2. When we have situations involving mixed numbers, we really use the same type of thinking that we did with multiplication of fractions. We're going to take any mixed number, create an improper fraction with that, and then proceed with the division process. So in example 3, we're going to take this 3 1/3, and we're going to do the 3 times 3, which is 9, plus the 1, which will give us 10. So we can rewrite this statement as 2/3 divided by 10/3. Now we're going to take the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal, and multiply. Makes our life a little easier. And we have some common factors to work with. We have a common factor of 2 between 2 and 10. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And a common factor of 3 between 3 and 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1 in both cases. And now I can multiply. 1 times 1 gives me 1, and 1 times 5 gives me 5. And that is in simplest form because we you found those common factors before we multiplied. All right, pause the video for a moment and try number 4. Remember, you have a mixed number to make into an improper fraction. You're going to take the reciprocal of the divisor and then multiply. All right, so in this case we have 2 times 8, which will give us 16. Let me make that look more like a multiplication sign. Plus the 5 will give us 21. So we have 21/8 divided by 7/4. We're going to take the reciprocal of 7/4, which will be 4/7, and now we'll multiply since we use that reciprocal. Common factors between numerator and denominator, I see a factor of 7 between 7 and 21, and a common factor of 4 between 4 and 8. So that's going to leave me with 3 times 1, which is 3, 2 times 1, and since I have an improper fraction, I'll make that a mixed number. 3 divided by 2, I get one group of 2, and I have 1/2 of the next group left over. All right, last one situation puzzle to think about. And in this case, we have John with his candy bars. John has 5 2/3 candy bars, and he wants to cut them into pieces that are 1/6 of a candy bar. So we want to know how many of those 1/6 pieces will he get out of his candy, out of his 5 2/3. So let's write the division problem. We have 5 2/3 divided by 1/6. Remember, division asks us how many of those groups can we get out of the 5 2/3. How many 1/6 can we get out of 5 2/3? All right, so starting at the top of our thinking, we have a mixed number that needs to be an improper fraction. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus the 2 is 17. And so when we rewrite the division problem, it looks like this. We're going to take the reciprocal as the multiplicative inverse of 1/6. So we'll have 17/3 times 6/1. I can see a common factor between 3 and 6. So I'm going to simplify that first because it makes the simplification at the end of the work a little bit easier. So I have 17 times 2, which is 34, and 1 times 1, which is 1. So that tells me that John can get 34 pieces that are 1/6 in size. All right, review your notes, jot down any questions that you have, bring those to class, and we'll take a look.